Hello and good afternoon to the Mahtab Aziz Celebrity Lawyer Show. Today we have as our guest, we've got Colin McMillan here with us today as our guest. How are you? Okay?
Better. How are you doing? Okay?
Very well, thank you. Thank you very much for coming on the program today. Adjustments to my position there. Okay. Thank you very much for coming on to our show today. Very kind. How have you been in the COVID situation?
I think I lost you there, maybe. I can't hear you.
How have you been coping with the lockdown and so on?
I think, like for everybody, it's been quite difficult. It's been quite a long time, and we're all hoping to see the end of it. But you just got to try and take the positive. Make it or get through it, and try and put the time to productive use. And that's what I've been trying to do. So all in all, it's kind of been difficult, but I'm quite fortunate. I think a lot of people are in a lot worse positions. So sometimes you've got to be thankful and just hope that we all can kind of come through it and hopefully get better as the year progresses.
Yes, and particularly in your line of business, when gyms are unfortunately gyms had to close and not possible for you to do your normal training routines.
Yeah, most definitely. Obviously, I've kind of got like my own boxing academy. We go into various schools, put programs in schools, and as I say, since lockdown, all of that has had to stop.
Right.
So it's been quite difficult. Obviously, I'm doing a bit of work with Hamza Sheraz and Umar Khan, and obviously they're classed as elite athletes, so they can still train. So the gym is open for them, so I can kind of like see them every now and again. But
Right.
for the other side of it, for the other parts of the gym, it's all closed until we know things have improved.
I thought, well, we're anticipating the Prime Minister to be making an announcement, I think later on today, in fact. So perhaps we'll be a bit more in the clear as to what's going to happen in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of waiting to see, what they have planned and what's going to be available, in the next, few weeks. So hopefully, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, so definitely. You mentioned Hamza Sheraz, very talented young man. How's he doing?
No, he's doing very, very, very good. Obviously, like undefeated. I think they're one of the best prospects in the country. Got a bright future. And he's got all the tools to go on to become a world champion. I mean, I've been working with him for about 6 months now, and I've been really impressed at his improvement, the way he listens. His ring IQ. His style, they're very, very, very promising talent, and I believe that if he kind of continues in the same kind of vein, he definitely had the tools to go on to become a world champion.
Oh, yes, very, very much so. I totally agree, and he's won the WBA European title after only, I believe, was it 10 fights? I think
10, 11, that's right, 10 fights. Yeah, so he's still very, very young, just turned 21. So got a great future, and he's still very young, so he's still learning at the moment. And he's already got a championship behind him. So hopefully in the years to come, he can mature, improve, get stronger, and go on to become a world champion.
Right. And you, of course, come from a boxing family yourself.
Well, myself, I box. Not so much. My dad done a little bit of boxing, but apart from that,
right.
Not too much boxing in the family.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Because I thought that you were related to Clinton McKenzie.
No. You're thinking of Duke McKenzie.
McKenzie. So I meant Duke. I'm thinking that you were related to Clinton. Chap called Clinton. Because I met him some time ago. And I think I got confused with yourself. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because obviously we get mixed up all the time, because obviously you've got myself and you've got Duke McKenzie and Clinton McKenzie, Dudley McKenzie, Winston McKenzie, the brother. So we do get kind of like mixed up every now and again.
Yes, sure. Well, you were you sort of came to prominence in the heady days of the late 80s and early 90s, when there were a lot of big name boxers around. And you won your the British and the Commonwealth, and then you went on to win the WBO featherweight title.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, you did very well there. And at that particular time, there were quite well. There was Prince Nassim Hamed was also around at that time, but I think you never actually faced him, but you faced Steve Robinson. You faced, but you didn't actually get to fight with Prince Nassim, although that was his time when he first came into prominence.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, my time on the 80s was a great time for British boxing. Obviously, you had the likes of Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank, Michael Watson, Frank Bruno, Lennox Lewis. So, it was a great time for boxing. Obviously, the featherweights, I was doing really, really well. A lot of things were expected. Obviously, I became world champion. And in my first defense, my shoulder got dislocated. And I lost the world championship from there. We were trying to get a fight with Naz, back in the day, but it never materialized. I think we actually sparred once when I was actually fighting for the British title, and Naz was an amateur. We went down to Sheffield, and we sparred together. And I always thought one day we might meet, but it never came to fruition. But he went on to become a tremendous world champion.
That's right. That's right. And what brought you into boxing in the first place?
When I was young, I was always, quite sports orientated. I used to love Muhammad Ali and then Sugar Ray Leonard. And, for me, those kind of guys were the epitome of what boxing's all about. Hitting and not getting hit, using your brain, it's a physical sport, but also a mental sport. And, from a very early age, I wanted to, follow in their footsteps. And my aim was to, go to the Olympics, get a gold medal, turn professional and become a world champion. I lost in the national finals and didn't go to the Olympics because of that. But when I actually fought for the world championships, I fought a guy called Mauricio Stecker, and he was a former Olympic champion. So in a way, it made up for me not going to the Olympics myself by beating an Olympic champion to become world champion.
Right. And of course, at that time, the amateur system and the Olympic trials and so on, were they at like a developed stage, or are they a lot better now? I mean, what's your recollection of?
To be fair, my style was always more suited to the professional game. I always wanted to become a professional, and the amateur game and the professional game are quite different. A lot of the amateur judges didn't like my style. It's more kind of like pro orientated. So I realised quite early on that a lot of the time I would, have a fight, and even though I wouldn't get the win, inwardly I would think that I'd done enough to win. But it's all about learning. The amateur for me was an apprenticeship, just trying to pick up things and improve, and turn it into success in the professional game, which is fortunately what I was able to do.
Right. I mean, a lot of people associate, boxing gyms and amateur boxing as a way of keeping, young youths and young people off the streets. You mentioned a short while ago that you're actually doing that sort of work at the moment. Just tell us a bit about how that's going.
Yeah, that's been going really, really well. I mean, obviously, it's called the Colin McMillan Boxing Training Academy, and it's been going now for 7-8 years. We go into various schools in the local neighbourhood. This is like trying to get kids engaged in boxing. Boxing is a very positive sport, and a lot of the time it puts kids in the right direction. It teaches them to channel that aggression, and for some teachers in some schools, it enables the kids to become involved in academic curriculum. So it's got so many benefits, and obviously, since I've been doing that, I've seen the benefits which it brings, and so many young kids have kind of come on board and have enjoyed boxing. It's kind of been a great educator, and it teaches them a lot about life. I mean, we also go into various schools with kids with disabilities, and I think 2 years ago I received the British Empire Medal by the Queen. And so yeah, it's been a good period, and I've been fortunate to be able to give something a little bit back and try and get people involved in boxing.
Right, that's really good to hear. And of course, unfortunately, during these times, obviously, those activities have somewhat been affected, obviously affected greatly by the COVID situation. But hopefully you'll be going full swing into it. Hopefully when things get better.
Oh yeah, most definitely. We are waiting to hear, different guidelines to find out when gyms and schools are going to be, reopened. And obviously, a lot of people are looking forward to the time where we can kind of start training again. So, I mean, it is such an important thing, physically and mentally, when you can train and release the energy you've kind of got. So, hopefully in a not too distant future, we'll see gyms open again and, people, young people and sports people back in the gym.
And when did you actually start boxing yourself? What age were you exactly when you started training?
I started when I was 15 years old,
right?
Which was quite late, really. A lot of young fighters start quite early, but sometimes I believe that if you start too young, by the time you get to 18, 19, you've done it so long, you want to try different things. And for me, it was a good age to start, and I wasn't burnt out, and I was able to kind of go on to bigger and better things.
Right, very good. Did you find that it gave you that sort of extra confidence when you were at school? Obviously, sometimes bullying is something a lot of pupils that go to school that they unfortunately have to face. But did you find that when people used to know, Duke's a boxer, did they sort of stand back a bit and say, "Oh, you better leave him alone," sort of thing,
Yeah, without that, I think people, when they know you have boxed, people do have give you a bit of a wide berth and that. But I think boxing teaches you. It's about learning how to defend yourself. It's not about going out there and bullying people. But once you know that you're trained and you can defend yourself, I think that gives you a lot of confidence, and also the people around you, they give you a bit more of a wider berth. So it works well that way too.
That's good. And also, of course, the other thing, of course, about boxing is that sort of the clean lifestyle and the sort of regimental sort of timing with waking up and training. So that's surely a very good thing for a lot of the youth these days to be trying to follow.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, when we go into various schools and that, I always say boxing is a great educator. So many of the things which you learn, you learn from boxing will help you in other parts of life. They say the dedication, the motivation, the way that you kind of like channel your aggression, the way you keep working towards something. Sometimes you'll have you slip down or get knocked down, but you pick yourself up and kind of go. These are all life lessons, things that happen in life, and with boxing, it can enable you to have a better understanding and help you to to improve your actual lifestyle.
That's very good. Have you sort of passed this on to your children or nephews or other young people that are close to your family? Have you actually got them involved in boxing as well?
Well, I've got two girls, and they're both teachers, but like they're not really into boxing. Yeah. They love keeping fit and that kind of stuff, but they didn't box themselves. But as I say, boxing is a great sport, and when I was younger, I used to love a lot of sports: football, cricket, basketball, athletics. But for me, the ultimate sport was boxing, because it's the complete synchronization of your mind, your body, and your soul. And of all the sports which I've done, I think it's required the highest the amount of physical and mental capability.
Right, sure. And I mean, going back to those days, people often say now that, well, for whatever reason, I'm sure you'll shed some light on it, that the boxers in those times were better for some reason than the current crop of boxers that we have these days. I probably certainly share that view, but what do you think?
I think it's very, very, like any sport, I think it's very, very difficult to compare different eras. Some people obviously in the olden time they thought Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, and obviously now you've got Lennox Lewis and Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. So I think it's very, very hard to try and say what era was better. I think technically, if you look at most sports, things are always improving. Technology improves. If you look at 100 meters, for example, people are getting faster, people are improving. So it's difficult. I think it's very hard, particularly in a sport like boxing, to compare different eras. I think you just got to celebrate your time and celebrate the people or the champions around you.
Yes, but I think probably a sort of a hint or a clue would probably be that two boxers who were retired ages and ages ago, namely Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., had an exhibition match recently, as you probably know, and the amount of interest and the amount of pay-per-views that sold was incredible. But these are retired boxers. They've been retired for many years, and the thing is, for some reason, I'm just saying that some people seem to have this view that, or they hold it to higher esteem the boxers of that era.
I don't know. I think obviously they were two great fighters. Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. But I think even today, I mean, you look at Floyd Mayweather, the amount of money he's made, and I think part of the problem is maybe the fact that boxing used to be on terrestrial TV. Back in my time, back in those days, it was on BBC One, ITV, so everybody got to know who the champions were. Whereas nowadays, you've got so many different platforms, Sky, YouTube, or whatever, that the majority of people don't always know who the champions are.
Well, you strike an interesting point there. I probably would say that it's also got to do perhaps with personalities. Why was Chris Eubank and Nigel Benz, that sort of scenario, why was it so popular? And probably I would probably say it's more to do probably with obviously they're very good boxers, but also at the same time they had great personalities. They're very sort of different type of characters, but they really had great personalities. And I'm sure you must recall some of the interviews that they had together. That's legend.
I think that's also the fact of back in the day, because it was on terrestrial TV, ITV, BBC One, everybody got to know about it. You kind of like your nan would know about it. The neighbours would know about it. Everybody was kind of talking about it. Whereas later on, you still got the great fighters. You still got the people like Carl Froch and George Groves. Great personalities. Sold out Wembley, massive events. But because they didn't have maybe that, fact where they were on terrestrial TV, it didn't have quite the same. Quite the same feel to it. But they're still very, very, very big fights in their own right.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. We're just going for a short break, so please do stay with us. We're talking to you. Just stay with us for a short. We'll just go for a short break. Thank you, dear. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Could you look a bus driver in the eyes and tell them your journey is essential, but the thing you think you need to go into the office for couldn't be done from home? Do you always keep a safe distance? The more often you go out, the more likely you are to come into contact with COVID-19. Are you sure you need to travel today? Stay home. Protect the NHS. Save lives.
क्या आपको मालूम है कि नूरा जैसी बच्चियां पानी के लिए रोजाना 3 मील पैदल सफर तय करती हैं? मिनहाज वेलफेयर फाउंडेशन को यकीन है कि आप छोटे और बड़े पैमाने पर पानी के मंसूबे लगाकर इस बहरान को खत्म कर सकते हैं। आपके एहतियात दुनिया भर के पसमानदा लोगों का मियार जिंदगी बेहतर बना रहे हैं, जबकि अभी बहुत कुछ करना बाकी है। पानी सबके लिए के प्रोजेक्ट में हमारी मदद कीजिए। आज ही अतिया कीजिए या हमारी वेबसाइट विजिट करें www.minhajwelfare.org.
Amigos, the signature name when it comes to burgers and shakes. Our succulent burgers are prepared in front of you while you wait. Whether you go for our 6-ounce Mexican or our 10-ounce Texan, or you decide to go for our messy fries or our buffalo wings, one thing you're guaranteed is quality. Dine in with your friends and family at 400 Cranbrook Road, Gants Hill, or order in on Uber Eats, Just Eat or Deliveroo. Amigos. Hats off to great burgers.
Nikah, talaq, counseling on matrimonial disputes, Islamic wills, Islamic law of inheritance, or an Islamic verdict on any other issue. The Muslim Sharia Council is at your service. We provide official certification and our experienced and highly qualified imams are available to provide you with guidance when needed. MQI London is based at 292 to 296 Romford Road, Forest Gate. We are open from Monday to Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. Or alternatively, call us now on 0208 257 1786.
Super Best Meze Grill, the Turkish restaurant where all our food is prepared to perfection. Our mixed grill family platters include lamb shish, chicken shish, Adana kebab, lamb ribs, chicken doner, chicken wings and lamb chops, and all are served with rice, salad, along with a selection of our cold mezes. To see our full menu, go to superbestmezegrill.co.uk. For the perfect dining setting, visit us now at 21 to 23 Broadway, Stratford, E15 4B, or call 0208 555 3335. Super Best Meze Grill.
Looking to get your finances in order? MR Accountants has you covered. We provide a full range of accountancy and taxation services, including annual and management accounts, self-assessment tax returns, VAT, bookkeeping, and payroll services. We ensure you're kept up to date with the latest legislation, and our client-focused approach helps us plan your business finances from savings to investments. We are MR Accountants. Visit our website at mraccountants.com or call us on 0203 432 9138.
If you want to advertise your business on Revive FM, then visit www.revivefm.co.uk. Alternatively, contact our sales team now on 079 44 56 5616. That's 079 44 56 5616.
Revive FM
94.0. On the radio,
on your mobile,
and online.
Hello and welcome back to the Mahtab Aziz Celebrity Lawyer Show. And we have Mr. McMillan on with us today. Thank you very much, Colin, for being with us today. We were just before the break. Before the break, we were just discussing about how some of the professionals of yesteryear, some people regard them as probably being better, and that would probably put yourself in that situation as well. But you've been very humble and put that down to different eras and terrestrial TV and so on. But I think what I've sort of seen is that in terms of techniques, a lot of the more current boxers don't seem to have that range of tools that for instance, someone like Sugar Ray Leonard, he was great at adapting. Whichever opponent he had, he always had something in the toolbox. He could use and just turn the fight around. And I see less and less of that these days. Would you agree with that, Colin?
A tremendous fighter and could do everything. But also, if you look at Floyd Mayweather, he's another multi-talented fighter. So they're both quite, not going to say similar. You've got to respect, Floyd Mayweather too. So, I don't necessarily think that, the older fighters are necessarily better. That's like, as I said before, it's kind of like very difficult. Every era is different. You've got people like Manny Pacquiao, who are tremendous fighters now. So it's very, very hard. And I always try not to, say, it's better in my time, because it's quite easy to do that. You appreciate, every time, back in the day, you had the likes of, Sugar Ray Robinson, another great fighter. People said he was the best of all time. Muhammad Ali. So it goes through different stages, and I think we just got to celebrate the champions that are here with us. And that is very, very hard to try and qualify who's better than who.
Right, sure. When you yourself first came into the boxing game, I mean, at that particular time, did you look up to some particular boxer, or did you just do it because you wanted to go into the sport, or was there someone that you sort of felt that like an inspirational type of person at that time?
Yeah, well, as I said before, I think the main two people for me were Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard. I think the way that they fought was very, very good, and also, I like Sugar Ray Leonard because he took a lot more control over his career. He was self-managed and that, and throughout the years, you've seen so many boxers kind of get exploited. That's one of the things which I wanted to make sure when I had my professional career, you know, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't in that same kind of boat. And you know, fortunately for me, I've always said to all young people, and that it's so important to get an education. You know, I went and I got O levels and A levels and that, and my parents wanted me to actually go to university. But I followed the boxing path. But an education is so important, you know, for young people out there.
Yes, and in fact, in relation to Sugar Ray Leonard, in fact, he is known to have had a very trusted and loyal lawyer behind him for a large part of his career. And in fact, that he did actually attribute the fact that he had a very good lawyer with him through most of his career, and he attributed that to helping him. You know, not ending up, you know, unfortunately, like a lot of some
Mike Trainer, I think it was,
yes, yeah. And as you raised the name of Sugar Ray Leonard, which side of the fence are you on for the Hagler-Leonard fight, and why?
That's a difficult one. I mean, I all of the four champions. Well, I say four. There's a few more than four. Hagler, Hearn, Duran. You know, that the great four, and Benitez, who should be there too. But like, I always loved Sugar Ray Leonard. So you know, I thought he might have nicked the fight with Hagler. But at the same time, I can understand, because sometimes, you know, if you are a champion, you know, really to the challenger to kind of go there and take it from you, which I don't think he really did. But like, I'm a little bit biased, so I thought he might have nicked the fight. But you know, it's one of those fights which could have gone either way.
Yes, that's right. And of course, Hagler was so sort of disappointed by that, because he tried to get a rematch, and it never happened. And then he just retired after that.
Yeah, I think he was very. You know, because I always felt Marvin Hagler, he done things the hard way. You know, whereas, you know, Ray Leonard was able to kind of go to the Olympics. He was the golden boy. You know, the public kind of got behind him. You know, Marvin Hagler, he had to do it the hard way, and I think he always kind of had a certain amount of resentment for that. And you know, when he fought Leonard, you know, he didn't think he got an equal break, because he always thought he would be the underdog. But you know, he was a tremendous fighter, and as I say, one of the all-time greats too.
Yes, and in fact, one thing that they always used to say was that he was denied he was denied the opportunity to hold aloft the belt that he'd won against Minter, because of you probably recall what happened in that particular fight with all those waiting in, and he had to be protected and led out of the ring. But that's something which he has always said, that you know, he was denied that opportunity to savouring his you know, win at that point. And I know there was quite a bit of controversy prior to the fight, as you probably may recall yourself. You know, between there was a bit of bad feeling between Minter and Hagler before they stepped into the ring, and so that was very, very sort of skilled and decisive win for Hagler, but unfortunately he never got to actually sort of savor the actual win at the end. And as you say, one of the all-time greats, Marvin Hagler, marvelous Marvin Hagler, I should say, that's his full title.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so he, you know, he went things the hard way. He kind of like, you know, he never had no help. So I think that's why, you know, so many fighters respect him, because even though he was like a champion, he always approached the fight as a challenger. He was always hungry. He always wanted to make sure that he went out there and he fought, you know, like a challenger. And I think that's one of his great attributes. He's kind of like he's always hungry throughout his career.
Definitely. And the odd thing is that even now he speaks so, you know, so clearly and eloquently now, even now, you know, Marvin Hagler, and he's been through so many hard fights with, you know, fights with Mugabe and Roldan and Hearns, such hard fights, but he seems to have come through, you know, apparently unscathed. He speaks so well, and whereas if you listen to Thomas Hearns now, you know, another one of my, you know, all-time great boxers, that Thomas Hearns, you know, speaks, you know, unfortunately with a bit of a slur, but the thing is, you would have thought that you know, Hagler would also be in that position, having had so many hard fights, but he, you know, speaks very, very, very clearly, very, very well.
Yeah, but I think also if you look at technically, if you look at someone like Marvin Hagler, even though he came forward, technically, defensively, he was very, very good. He didn't always take too many punches. Even though he came forward, defensively, he was very, very good. And I always say to people, boxing is the noble art. It's about getting hit and get hit. Even if you're coming forward, you've got to learn to do that. And all the true great fighters, have a decent defense. And if you want to try and make sure that your health is intact and you leave the sport talking properly, you want to make sure that you do work on your defense.
Yes. Well, if you refer to what's called as the greatest 3 rounds in the history of boxing, being Hearns-Hagler fight, I mean, Hearns caught you with a flush on the temple with one of his powerful shots. And I don't know how on earth Hagler just stayed there. I mean, this is amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, he just, it's just amazing how he managed to stay there. Didn't go down, didn't flinch, just kept going forward. That was absolutely amazing performance by Hagler.
Yeah, I think he had a tremendous chin. He could take a really good shot. But as I say, sometimes he didn't take too many shots when he didn't have to. But when it was called upon, he had a tremendous chin, and that was a great fight, one of the greatest fights in history. So 2 great fighters.
Yes, and also you mentioned Wilfred Benitez, who I actually happen to was a very good boxer, but not many people know about him. And in fact, not many people know that he still holds the world record for being world heavyweight champion. Yes, it was Wilfred Benitez. He holds that record. It's not been broken since all these years.
Yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, he was one of the guys I looked to defensively. Exceptional. I think he was a world champion at 17 years of age. Truly tremendous talent and so good defensively. And as they're coming through, I mean, I looked at all those kind of guys, and they were the guys who inspired me, and I watched those kind of guys, and wanted to emulate those guys. And I was fortunate at a time where you had the likes of Benitez, Hearns, Duran, Hagler. I had so many great fighters to look up to and learn from.
Right, and in those days, of course, these sort of tables were turned a bit in the sense that people used to look up to the United States, the place for boxers and professional boxers. And I know that Nigel Benn, in fact, after he lost to Eubank, he went to America and underwent training there, and he came back a much better fighter. And a lot of the boxers here used to go there, but now, obviously, as you know, the spotlight is on the UK now, and it's British heavyweights dominating, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, and a lot of even the lower ranks. You've got British fighters. In your mind, I mean, apart from yourself, I mean, which is the British fighter that stands out for you?
A British fighter that stands out for me, when now or kind of like in the past?
I can give 2. Say now and previously. I mean, who was the British fighter that really impressed you?
There's quite a few British fighters. I mean, I must admit, I think Lennox Lewis was a tremendous fighter. Obviously, I knew Lennox from the amateur game, and to see what he's done, he had some great fights, and particularly going out to America and beating the likes of Tyson and Holyfield. He's a great fighter. You've got Joe Kawasaki, another one. Those 2 guys for me are right at the top of the tree, and I think they're 2 of the best fighters that Britain's really produced.
Very good choices. Well, if I may just say one thing about Lennox Lewis, and that is that probably not many people know that he actually went for the Olympics twice. I personally think that was a mistake, because had he gone professional the first time, he just won a silver medal the first time. But he was wanted to win a gold. So he spent another 4 years in the amateur ranks, going for the Olympics again. And then, of course, he did win the gold, and he won it against, I believe it was Riddick Bowe. I personally feel, had he gone professional after he won the silver medal, that would have been a lot better for his career. Now, I say that because if you look at Lennox Lewis, he was most efficient and skillful at around about 230, around the 230 pounds mark, But because he delayed his professional entry by 4 years, so what happened was that as he grew older, he grew heavier, and he went top 245 towards the latter part of his career. But if you watch him when he was like right about the 230, my goodness, he was phenomenal. So I think had he turned professional, 4 years earlier, I think he may have retired with undefeated.
But sometimes I think all fighters mature differently. Sometimes if you look at Lennox Lewis, who fought Frank Bruno, to the Lennox Lewis 3-4 years down the line, a completely different fighter. Sometimes I think you do need the extra years, the maturity, the extra strength, the extra weight, and I think it worked for him. As he kind of got a bit more kind of like a bit more seasoned, a bit more knowledgeable. He became a phenomenal fighter. So sometimes it is kind of good if you take the or do things a little bit earlier, but at the same time, sometimes it's nice to take your time, mature, and that kind of like will be a better route for you. And I think it worked out really well for him, because I still think obviously he's one of the greatest fighters this country's produced.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And what about currently? What's your autopsy on the current state of the boxing at the moment?
My current fighter over here.
Yeah. Who do you think is the boxer that's at the top at the moment? British boxer, I should say.
I mean, obviously you've got the likes of excuse me, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Obviously they're kind of like good, but obviously I'm a little bit biased, but I think Hamza Shearer has got a great future ahead of him, and I'm also doing a bit of work with Umar Khan, another little prospect, and hopefully these kind of guys can kind of come through in the years to come, and go on to become bona fide champions.
Right. I think Umar Khan was fighting recently, I believe. Was it?
Umar Khan, he's making a professional debut on March the 27th on a Frank Warren show. He's another good prospect. He's only 18, and I've been working for 6 months, and again been very, very impressed. And he's got like a great future ahead of him.
Right. That's very good to hear. Very good to hear. And in terms of the fight everyone was talking about, Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, I'm going to put you a bit of a spotlight now. Tell us your prediction on that.
Well, I know both guys, and I like both guys. I think it's a great fight. I think obviously a great fight for boxing, a great fight for Britain, and it's a 50-50 fight. It's a fight where they've both got different attributes, and I really do believe it's on the day. I could see reasons why Anthony Joshua could win that fight, and at the same time, I could see why Tyson Fury could win that fight. It's a genuine 50-50 fight, and it could go either way. I mean, normally I don't have to sit on the fence. I like to try and give a prediction, but it generally is, so close to call. But hopefully it will come off, and I think it'll be good for the sport, because sometimes we get so many decent fighters, but for political reasons they don't fight. But when you see a situation whereby you've got two British world heavyweight champions, it'll be a travesty if they don't fight. So good thing if they are talking, and hopefully that fight can be made, and I think it'd be great for British boxing.
Yes, very much so, and probably will be the greatest, probably in terms of financially, probably will be the greatest British domestic fight there has been for a very long time.
I'll try that.
All right. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot again, because I'm going to suggest some names, and I'd like you to ask me how you would have dealt with them had you.
Okay.
Start off with Prince Nassim.
No, as I said before, we sparred together years ago, so I always was confident, because Naz always, if you look at his career, he had problems with guys who could box a little bit. So with me, similar to how he fought Barrera, if you can kind of you've got to have a good chin with Naz, and you've got to stay there with him. Make sure you counter all his mistakes. But I was hoping that we would get together to fight, but unfortunately, it never came to pass.
Right. So do we call that a draw then? That one then, do we?
No, I think I'd win that one.
All right. Okay, that's good. Next, Eric Morales.
Morales is good, tough, tough. But again, you'd have to try and box with him. Obviously, he loves to fight, and he's good, good technically, but also like to war. So you'd have to try and outbox him, not to get involved. Don't get involved too much, because if you do, it'll be a very difficult fight.
Mm-hmm. So how would that have gone? Is that another win for you or a draw?
As a fighter, one of the things you've always got to be is confident. There's no point if you don't think you can find a way to win.
Right.
We're gonna change it. Every situation. Once you step into that ring, you've got to have that mindset that you can find a way to overcome and win.
Right. Okay. Okay. There we go. Marco Antonio Barrera.
Hello?
Marco Antonio Barrera.
Barrera, yeah, another great fighter. But with me, I would just have to use what I do best, which is use my speed, my movement to try and stay out of trouble and nick the fight. But again, another tremendous fighter, and all of these kind of guys are great fighters. So to fight all of these kind of guys, you have to be on your A game. Anything less than that, you're gonna find yourself in trouble.
Sure. One last thing I'd like to put by is Hector Camacho. Hector Camacho, not many people know, but he's beaten some of the biggest names in boxing. Don't seem to know that.
He what, sorry?
Well, he beat some of the biggest names in boxing, Hector Camacho. But he's not that well known amongst the general public. He's not that well known, but he
was, what you say, he's one of the guys who didn't really transcend the sport. But for me, if they're growing up, Hector Camacho, tremendous fighter, southpaw, very fast hands. Obviously he beat a late Sugar Leonard later on in the day, but like you say, a tremendous fighter, and at his peak, very, very hard man to beat.
Yeah, he beat Roberto Duran as well. Roberto Duran, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, he's a tremendous fighter, and on his day, you could mix it with the best of them.
Mm-hmm. Right, sure. Well, Colin, we've run out of time, and it's been absolutely great to have you as a guest. I think we want to have you back again because you got a lot of interesting information there. We need to have you back again, I think, someday.
Yeah, no problem at all. No, I enjoyed it, and thanks for the invitation, and good luck with the show.
Thanks very much, Colin. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Did you know that girls like Noura walk an average of